Is Canada a racist country?
James McGill, the founder of McGill University himself, owned 12 slaves. Slaves were also brought from Sierra Leone, 5,000 of them to the citadel in Nova Scotia. So don't tell me that black people didn't come here as slaves. The black people were brought here as slaves. Learn your history.
Welcome back, everyone. That was a clip from True North, the latest documentary from Emmy award-winning filmmaker Michéle Stephenson. The film takes us to Montreal in the late 1960s, where a student protest shook the country, becoming the largest uprising in Canadian history.
And through rare archival footage and the voices of those who lived it, True North reveals how Montreal was once at the center of the global fight for Black liberation. Please welcome director Michéle Stephenson. Good to have you here. Okay. Right? So, Michéle, for people who have no idea, can you break down the events that were happening in Montreal in 1968 and 69?
Well, Montreal was at the epicenter of a global Black movement. We look at the Conference of Black Writers, which was a gathering of artists from all over the globe who were fighting racial discrimination and looking at a way to celebrate their self-love as well. Okay. And that led into the Sir George Williams affair, because many students who took part of the conference were facing racial discrimination against faculty and decided that enough was enough. And so the uprising took place there months after, in early '69.
And can you give us a little bit more detail about the racism that these students were facing?
In particular, they were facing egregious actions by faculty when it came to exams. They were given lower grades for the same work, and they were not given accommodations as well for makeup exams. But a bigger issue was that the institution, Sir George Williams University, which is now Concordia University, refused to hear them. They really rallied against the racist actions of the professors involved in these actions.
Okay. You spent some formative years in Montreal. Was these events, were they part of the history that you knew?
I knew nothing about this growing up. It is not part of my history. And yet, as I was doing the research, not only did this hit close to home, these were actually my parents' generation. They were actually family members involved in the occupation as well.
Wow.
And so this was something that was discovered at the moment. And I felt sort of angry and robbed of a history of the contributions of a community that I'm a part of to the fabric of Canadian society. So the film has been really a healing process for me as an individual, and I'm hoping as a collectivity for our society as well as our communities that it becomes part of that healing process too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in your view, what made this moment such a turning point in the history of race and activism in Canada, specifically in Montreal?
Well, people don't realize that Montreal has a very, very long history of Black global presence, of activism, cultural and social. And so at the time, Quebec had opened its immigration doors as well. So there were people from the Black diaspora arriving to go to school, to university, to also work. My family is part of that migration. And there was the burgeoning Quebec independence movement as well. And this all converged as part of this Sir George Williams protest, when people said, enough was enough, we need to fight for our rights as we come to this country.
The film features like hauntingly beautiful, sometimes joyful, sometimes painful archival footage. I can't imagine, a lot of it has never been seen before?
A lot of it has never been seen before.
How did you source all of this?
And I have to say that our archival producers and researchers, as part of nonfiction filmmaking, they are our unsung heroes. They're given direction, but they really find the gems. I mean, in one particular case, we had one of the producers come and find this file, and all that was said on it was, Les Noirs, the Blacks. And so that was something that was shocking to all of us in the group. But we said, okay, we need to dig into that folder to see what's in there that we need to bring up and celebrate, but also reckon with as part of that. So the archival footage is part of this immersive experience that allows us to laugh, to cry, to get angry during these 90 minutes, but also to feel inspired by the work of these freedom fighters. And the archival footage plays that role for us.
Yeah, also highlighting the fact that it's so important to record what's happening at the time, because you don't know how it's going to impact people in the future. But there's a soundbite that's heard in the movie several times, which is Canada's not racist. And I think you can still find a lot of people having that conversation saying, Canada's not racist. Why do you think that is? Because I have my theory, but I'm dying to hear yours.
Well, part of it is that we don't learn our history. And we are sort of hiding behind the experience of the Underground Railroad in the case of Black communities. But Canada's history is much more complicated than that. We had slavery and the Underground Railroad. We had racial segregation as well as the Underground Railroad. So we need to hold that contradiction. And I hope this film allows us to understand the complexity of the Black experience here, but also allow us to understand that there's always been resistance by our ancestors, and that their work that these folks have been doing for us are a guidepost for the work we need to do now.
Some of the students were actually deported after the protests. Do you know what happened to them?
Well, students were deported from here largely to Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
Some students were arrested, jailed, convicted. Rosie Douglas, in particular, who is a major participant in the film through archival footage because he's passed away, but we were able to stitch his story together. He was jailed, convicted, spent 2 years in prison, was released, and then started to do solidarity work with First Nations group here in Canada. And that was a threat to the government. So the government deported him. And he ended up in Dominica, where he is from. But he became Prime Minister of Dominica.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic. Listen, Michéle, we can't thank you enough for stopping by. And a reminder to everybody, True North is screening tonight at the Scotiabank Theatre as part of the Toronto International Film Festival. Tickets are still available, so get them right now. Go to ticketmaster.ca/TIFF, and we'll be right back.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.